Welcome to episode 33 of 5 Random Airports and Airfields. Hey, this week we're going to take a trip on over to Africa and see what we can find in the way of abandoned and well-used airports and airfields. So let's just jump right in, shall we? Alright, first up is going to be Palmy-Fontaine Airport. And this is particular airport operated between 1945 and 1952. The airport itself was built during the war and was used by the Air Force and then was later converted to civilian use before being shut down. As you can see, there is not much left of the runway or airport itself. If you look down over here, you can see what is left of what little is left of the runway. From what I understand, it is now being used as some sort of racetrack, the Rand Grand Prix. But you can clearly see, like here, that looks like that could have been a taxiway, possibly. And there's an old structure here. So that could be left over, what is left over of the airport itself. So still pretty fascinating, really. So this would have been your approach. All right. And we are in Rand, Johannesburg. Alright, well that's going to do it for Palmy-Fontaine. Not much left of that one, huh? So next up, we're looking at Rand Airport. This is going to be Frank, Adam, George, Mary. This one, particular airport has a runway length of 4,540 and another runway of 5,427 feet. What I found interesting about this one, this particular airport, and it was when a Major Alistair Miller landed here in 1917 on a golf course. And he thought this would be a great location for an airport. So in 1929 they built the airport, and then in 1931 it opened. And it operated as a military base. I would assume through the war. Before ultimately becoming a civilian airport. And you could see, like, on the outskirts, there are some what could be abandoned structures, what could have been part of the original air base. So there's a little bit to see there. And I really like this airport. This is a default airport. I could find nothing on flightsim.to to enhance any of these airports. So what you're seeing is default. And there is the golf course that Major Miller landed on in 1917. How cool is that? At least I'm assuming that's the same golf course. And you're right in the middle of Rand, so we're not too far away from our last location either. Fancy golf club. Pretty decent airport for default fare. Alright, well that's going to do it for Rand. Next up is going to be Simicini Airport. This is going to be in Kisangani, and it is Frank Zebra Ida Adam. This particular runway is 7,236 feet. And the reason I picked this one, I could find little information about this airport. And actually, when I looked it up, what I looked it up on and how I found it showed that it was actually abandoned. But your guess is as good as mine if it is or not. But I picked this because of its close proximity to the Congo. And if you're into flying along the Congo, this makes a great stopping or starting point. Alright, well that's going to be about it for Simicini. You're flying over a pretty well-populated area, so then you get further out, there's less and less civilization. Okay, let's go ahead and jump on to the next one. Right, so next we are looking at Wingfield Aerodrome. This one has no IACO code because it is obviously a defunct airfield. This particular airfield was a Air Force station during the war. Base was mainly used by the SAAF and then was used by the Fleet Air Arm of the Royal Navy. And then was a civilian airport or aerodrome for a while, and then it was shut down. We are in Cape Town. So this is probably the oldest one out of all of them that I could find. But you can clearly make out where it all once stood. I mean, even if you look here, you're clearly looking at an airport or aerodrome. And there's the old runway. Look at that. From what I was reading, they flew Hellcats out of here during World War II. You think you'd see an old airplane somewhere in there. See, there's a structure. This was another one. There wasn't a lot of information. I didn't go look at images, though, to see if there were any images from it. This would have been, I believe, where, well, it's hard to say without comparing it to pictures. But the imagery, it's pretty clear. Like that building right there, that building looks pretty old, and that was probably all those buildings there were probably all part of the aerodrome or the base. Looks like you have another runway here, possibly, or a taxiway. And I will provide the coordinates for this one, so you can just jump to it if you want to. Pretty cool. Alright, well, let's jump on to the next one. I've always been fascinated with Cape Town. All right. Well, what's that? There's, you got another airport over here. So like, I can understand why they ultimately shut that one down. Okay, we'll jump on to the last one. And lastly, but certainly not least, we are going to be looking at Casablanca Anfa Airport. This will be GMMC, George Mary Charles. This particular airport was one of 3 airports that used to serve the Casablanca region, or the city of Casablanca, and was ultimately replaced by GMMN, which is Mohammed International Airport, which is one of the busiest airports, international airports in the world. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take off from here, take a look around here, see what we can see what's left. We'll fly over to Mohammed International. Not much left of the runway. Flight Simulator still shows this as an active runway. As a grass runway, it is 3,062 feet. But to me, it doesn't look like they use it for anything, and from what I read, it's shut down. So that's going to be GMMC. We're going to hop into the Lionheart Viking and go for a quick little flight over to Mohammed International. Alright, we got a GPS direct flight set up in the GPS. And we're not looking at a lot of flight time. We're looking at just under 8 minutes here. Now, Mohammed International was built by the U.S. in 1943, and it was originally named Barachid Airfield. In the 50s,
November 221 Mike Alpha Mohammed V approach. Squawk tree 07 tree.
Squawk tree 07 tree 1 Mike Alpha. Roger, 1 Mike Alpha.
This is is one of my. I picked this up here about a week ago. They were having a sale on it. It was $10. Great airplane. Alright. So this is going to be Mohammed International. This is going to be GMMN. And we flew from about over there. I did have this all set up and I thought I was recording, but apparently I missed a good portion of the flight. So we're going to just start it from here. We're going to just skirt around Mohammed International here and talk about it a little. Mohammed International was originally Barachid Airfield. It was built by the U.S. in 1943. And as I was saying earlier, there were originally 3 airports in Casablanca, and Mohammed International replaced all 3 of them with just the one. So the one we took off from, which was a GMMC, that is now defunct, and this is now the main airport. But in the 1950s, this was renamed from Barachid Airfield to Hassan Air Base. And then they actually flew B-47s out of here, which is pretty interesting. And this was an auxiliary airfield to ANFA, which is the one we took off from. It's pretty fascinating, really. A lot of history here. And as of 2022, Mohammed International is one of the busiest international airports in the world. In fact, in 2022, they served over 7 million passengers. 7 million people passed through that airport. Isn't that crazy? Alright, well, we're going to go ahead and set up for landing, and then we'll take a look at the airport like we usually do. And just go ahead and swing around and bring her in.
119.9 Royal Air Maroc 424.
I'm probably bound to piss somebody off here. And I let you know, I'm not one of these guys. I don't fly on multiplayer. So when I jump into these airports, I'm not interfering with anybody else's flights. I keep all that turned off. up stalling this out. Now, I would assume that there's probably payware out there somewhere for this. For this particular airport, I couldn't find a freeware one, but I didn't look too hard. And actually, I was looking at GMMC, and I don't think I looked up GMMN.
Alpha, exit runway when able.
Alright, let's exit the runway.
One Mike Alpha, contact ground on 130.6.
Lots of big jets here.
130.6 for 1 Mike Alpha.
I feel out of place. I mean, this thing is a massive airport. So, international airport. So, it takes up a lot of real estate. Pretty easy approach. You don't have any elevation in or around you, so that's good. And the default airport is pretty fair. Alright, well that is going to be it for GMMN. Let's go ahead and get us parked and we'll call it a day. Alright, well, I hope you've enjoyed this video today. If I've inspired you to go to any one of these airports, check them out. Then I've done my job. And I want to thank each and every one of you for watching my videos. And to have a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll see you in the next one.